Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Monday Manifest. Sorry, I forgot I'm standing up and I needed to stretch. This week's topic is the Sherlock Holmes game Crimes and Punishment from 2014 because I just finished playing that. That was my most recent Mystery Monday game, which is just what I call it when I stream mystery games on Monday. I know I I have the best of ideas. And actually that game was really good. Most of the complaints I have about it were partially just from the hardware. I was playing it on Switch because I got it on sale on Switch for pretty cheap. It was basically like $2. So I was like, hell yeah. And I have The Devil's Daughter, which I'm going to play next, and then I ended up buying one of the more recent games, which is Sherlock Holmes Chapter 1, also by the same company. I didn't realize that all three games were made by the same company until somebody in chat said something about it, and I was like, "Oh, you're right. That makes a lot of sense, actually." So yeah, I really really enjoyed it. There were only a couple of times where I really got super lost, and the first time was actually pretty early into the game. There's a few times where there were like these weird 3D puzzles, and it doesn't really explain how you do them, but basically you're trying to like kind of conjure up a memory. Like the first thing is you basically like find some guy's tobacco pouch, and it's like, hey, this is an interesting smell, but now I need to make mental connections to figure out exactly like where I might know this from. And you basically go to a 3D space and you have a couple of objects and you're trying to rotate them and move them up and down to form the shape of something. Um I had no idea what the hell I was doing because the game didn't really explain it very well, and also the shapes were hard to line up until I knew what it needed to look like. Um, is at that part I did look up a guide because I was like, "What is this?" And they're like, "Yeah, this puzzle kind of sucks and is a little hard, but you just kind of finagle it until it looks like a ship, and then you're good." And so I ended up getting through that. And there were a couple of puzzles in there that were similar, where like there was an on-screen prompt telling you what the buttons did, but you couldn't like later on there was a point where I needed to put together a weapon mold. And at first I thought when it was telling me to swap pieces, I thought it meant I was trying to put the pieces together, but it turned out that I was literally swapping pieces in a there was basically four pieces, and then well, four and two, not however you want to say. There'll be a visual on the screen so it makes more sense, but basically I just had to keep swapping the mold parts and spinning them, and then I pressed a button to try to fit them together until I fit the whole thing together as one piece. So my only major complaint about the game would probably just be that some of the puzzles weren't very well explained. um and one of the longer um videos, because I tried to do it so it was like a video per chapter. Although a couple of them I got to like most of the way through, and then I was like, I'm gonna stop streaming and start this up next time because there's just a lot to this. Sometimes there were a lot of areas to explore, and it wasn't always completely clear on how to get all the clues that you needed basically to move on to the next area, or what order you had to go in. So that was a little weird. It probably didn't help that you also have these two things you can do. There's basically like this detective vision sense where it makes things appear that you wouldn't normally see, like footprints and stuff like that, and it'll prompt you in the top right of the screen if you can do that. But I wouldn't always pay attention, or I'd see it and I just like keep going around. So it's partially my fault for not paying attention to that. And the counterpart to that, which is the L button, was a way to basically reenact what was happening and figure out more clues from that. So there were a few times where I just missed that, and that's why it took a while to get things done. But overall, like I liked the tone of it. I liked the way that they portrayed Sherlock and Watson. Like there were some really, really like funny moments where you're like, oh yeah, that's exactly what he would do. And then there were serious moments. And I think one of the biggest things for me on the game was the fact that every single case had multiple ways that you could end it. Like there really wasn't a right or wrong choice. Well, maybe canonically there is. I don't know. I actually haven't read Sherlock. I should. I know it's a classic, much like how I've been watching Hercule Poirot with friends, and that's amazing. Um, there's still a lot I don't know about those two gentlemen. But yeah, so it was very good. I liked their like back and forth. I liked the characters that you met and dealt with. Like you had Wiggins, the little urchin boy who would find certain information for you and other things that you wouldn't be able to get through other means, or at least not as quickly as he could do it. And the cases were nice. Like each one was different in the way that you figure out how exactly things were done. Like some of them had to do with like, like Roman baths or possibly unfaithful wives and other stuff. Every single one of them had a murder in it, so that's always exciting. So it was definitely a lot of fun. It was a good experience. Like the only other complaint I had about, and like I said, it's not really the game itself, but well, I don't know because I've never I don't know how it runs on the PC since I got it on Switch. The loading screens were a little lengthy, but not like horribly so. Um, like they definitely took a bit depending on the size of the area, which makes sense. Like every time you went back to Baker Street, the load times were pretty quick because Baker Street is like 3 rooms. Like it's not very big. And you could constantly every day peep on a lady in a corset across the room. I don't know why, but that was there. Oh, and you got to use your dog a few times, which was great. Like it was really nice seeing it, and there were a few times where you had to dress up in disguises, and I was like, that's cool. So I'm hoping when I go through The Devil's Daughter, they kept some of that in. It looks like I think it's a few years newer than the first one. So I'm gonna assume that it's gonna be a little smoother, or they might like it'll probably look a little nicer too. And hopefully they kept the mechanics from the first one or certain ones. I don't know about the puzzles. We'll see how the puzzles are. Like I said, the 3D puzzles were a little bit weird to me, but once I knew what I was trying to do, it made a lot more sense. So hoping at least things are a little bit more fleshed out in The Devil's Daughter, or explained a little bit more succinctly. Oh, just a second. Sorry about that. I forgot I was making cookies and I had to get them out of the oven. But yeah, no, we'll see. I'm excited to play more of it. Like I played a couple of the Hercule Poirot games and I really like those. I've liked most of these like mystery games based on famous literary or fictional characters. And I really should read the Sherlock Holmes books. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's something I'll read on stream. I think those are in the public domain now, so I probably could read them without severe copyright repercussions. I could be wrong. I should look that up. That's one of the reasons why I haven't done any book readings, because it's like, it's fun, but also we're in a world where DMCA and copyright is such a tangled web of things. It's hard to tell. Because I'll be real with you guys. I have a copyright strike on my channel. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about that, but and it was because 2 years ago or so, I put together a Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time puzzle, and it was fine. Like for 2 years, nothing happened, and then I got hit with a copyright strike because I had an image of. It's funny because I've played Ocarina of Time and I've played all kinds of Zelda games, but those were all gameplays. I guess because I was using the image in my video of the puzzle. And it wasn't like a gameplay thing. It was just there. That counts. Copyright law is such a strange thing. So thankfully, that's only there for like a couple of months, but it's still like oh, this is what you guys got me on. But yeah, that's just something I have to figure out because I don't want to lose my channel because of stupid stuff like that. But yeah, so I'd say if you like a nice mystery game, Sherlock Holmes, Crime and Punishment, like they're like I said, they're from 2014. It's a 10-year-old game. It's not the most beautiful game out there, but it still looks pretty damn good considering the time it came out. It was a fun game to go through for sure. I might even go through it again on my own and try like the other branching paths because, like I said, every case has 2 or 3. Some in certain cases, endings you can get for each chapter, because you can choose different people to to finger. Like, that's what they called, catching the culprit, but it's kind of a funny thing to say. As I actually, in the first chapter, I ended up choosing like the third outlier one that you have to kind of finagle around to get, because I was like, no, this actually makes sense. Yeah. So yeah, Sherlock Holmes, Crimes and Punishments. That was great. Like I said, just a couple of the puzzles were a little bit weird, or sometimes some of the areas were a little large, so it was easy to get lost. But I mean, everything gets jotted down in the case book. Whenever you get to an area where you can use like your little special abilities for detectiving, stuff shows up on screen. So there's always on-screen prompts. It's just I didn't always pay attention to them. Yeah, great game. Excited to play the next one. And yeah, if I've already started uploading it, so if you want to see my playthrough of it, make sure to check in the link below that I'll put down there. I should probably do that for all of the things that I've talked about recently that are up on YouTube, but I'm really bad at that. And as always, as always, thank you guys for being here and supporting the channel. If you like what you see, make sure to like the video, subscribe, check out the other videos that I have going on. I've been doing a bunch of shorts this month because I've been doing Drawtober. I'm not a very good artist, and I'm also working with MS Paint, so that kind of lets you know what quality you're looking at. But you know what? Practice makes perfect, as they say, or at least makes you slightly better at drawing straight lines and stuff. Yeah, thank you all for being here for another Monday Manifest. I'll see you next week. Have a great one.